United.
Hello people, it's your boss man back again with another Manchester United podcast. As always, get your thoughts in the comment section. Make sure you support myself and the rest of the guests. Everyone's socials are down below. Drop a like, subscribe to the channel, all that good stuff. But listen, there's a lot to discuss. We will be going through the transfer rumours, of course, the addition of Pogba and Sancho back in the squad, alongside other things that Woodward finally leaving his post after about 7 years too late. But I'm sure the guys have got a lot of strong opinions on that matter. But anyways, as you can see from the title, Pochettino to Manchester United is the main topic. We'll be discussing that a bit later on the show, so make sure you stay tuned for that. But without further ado, let's introduce the panel. On my left, the homie, it's been a while since we're back in the building. FK is here. Bro, how you doing, my guy?
Yeah, I'm all right, bro. How are you? You okay, yeah?
Yeah, I'm not too bad, Obviously, good to have you, and obviously I know you're very opinionated. I'm passionate fan, similar to myself in a sense. I'm sure there's a lot of conversation that is to be had regarding certain matters, which we will address very shortly. But listen, below me, I thought she was going to come later, but she's on time. The homie always here when we need her. Alice is in the building. Alice, how you doing?
I'm doing good, thanks, Usman. Thanks for having me on. Not the best time to be a United fan right now, but, you know, can only get better, surely.
Absolutely. And last but not least, Mr. Sunshine himself did launch his channel this month. In fact, actually January, not this month. I forgot it's February. It did launch his channel in January as well. So obviously, make sure you show love to him. New channel, all that. The homie Najee is back in the building. How you doing, my guy?
What up? We're good,
Yes,
man.
yes.
We're good. We're balanced out here. We're balanced. You know what I mean? We're not up there. We're not down here. We're just finding that middle ground somewhere, man.
Absolutely. I think there's definitely a feeling within the Man United fan base at the moment that things could be worse, but things could definitely be better. I think that's probably fair assessment. But of course, we will get into that very shortly. The first topic of the matter is, of course, the transfer window. So, unless you've been living under a rock, the transfer window or the deadline did pass yesterday. Manchester United doing brilliant business once again. Just signed nobody, basically done nothing. Had absolute no ambition. But then again, what do you expect from bankers running the club? We're going to get into that. First and foremost, FK, I'm going to start with you, my brother. I mean, it's a bit of a stupid question, but what have you made of Manchester United's transfer window in January? What do you reckon?
Nothing short of a disaster. Shambolic. You know what? I don't even want to go too deep into it because I'll end up just cursing the life out of the Glazers. I'm just fed up. I'm at the bottom of the barrel at this point with these parasites now. It's just got to that point. I've had enough. You know what? I can understand where they said that, we were going to do business in the summer. But, read the room, man. Like, you make at least, in the summer they said the defensive midfielder is something that we're looking at, and it's possible that we do something in January. At the beginning of the transfer window, Rangnick specifically asked for a certain type of midfielder, and yet it's another manager that they've thrown under the bus. Another guy they've made look like a joke.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a few cases where Rangnick has made it very clear he wanted a midfielder. I mean, the amount of times we were linked with Haidara in particular. Of course, people were linked with Kamara. Obviously, Zakaria went to Juventus, I believe, in the end. Alice, what have you made of it? Obviously, FK is going straight in the board, and to be quite honest with you, bro, I can't blame you. Alice, what have you made of it? Do you think it's the board that needs to take the blame, or do you think there's other issues at Man United stopping us from signing players?
I mean, I think everything really goes down to the board and the owners at Man United, because the one consistency over the last 10 years of failure is the board, is the owners. We've had managers, we've had players, 10 years of failure. I think for me, I made a video last night, which I uploaded this morning, just talking about the whole situation. And I said, the fact that the highlight of our transfer window is celebrating Donny being 3. Like that, we're celebrating Donny going. That's the only positive, which is it really a positive? Because I'm sure if we'd like to play Donny. And I just think, you know, when top four is not close, like we don't know about top four. Conte Spurs, you know, they're probably the biggest threat. They'll go above us if they win their games in hand. You know, when top four is not certain, you surely have to spend money no matter the situation. When you need a CDM so badly, and when Ralph Rangnick's asked for a CDM, and you've got Sakari available for 6 million, you've got Kamara available for 10 million. Yeah, they're not perfect, but they're 10 million, 6 million. Daniel James costs more than that, you know? You could probably make a win on it. And I just think, you know, if we really cared, we'd be trying to get a CDM. And the fact that, you know, we weren't even trying to get Sakari or Kamara or anyone just shows that from day one, they knew they weren't going to buy anyone, and we've come out weaker. And you know, you meant to go into January get stronger. We've managed to come out weaker, and we haven't been particularly good this season. So I'm worried.
Yeah, no, I can definitely relate to that last part of what you said. I mean, in terms of, you know, the certain divisions that you mentioned there, we have definitely been linked to them, and it's become very apparent that they had no intention of really signing anyone. Of course, that was all smokescreen, trying to get the fans happy, trying to show us that we're doing something. But there's a comment here that I just want to bring up. Actually, that's not the right one. That one there, Najee, I'll throw it to you. He's obviously referring to, he doesn't think that it's important that we rush and buy any players. So in terms of the likes of Haidara, Zachary, etc., does he have a point in a sense that it's important that Man United don't just sign someone for the sake of, we all know we need a DM, but Ralph is an interim manager. Would it have been the right thing to actually bring someone in and potentially have a new manager in a couple of months' time not want that player?
It depends how you look at it. For me, I'll be honest, the midfield as we know right now, I mean, I've been screaming for Matic's replacement for 5 years. For 5 years, I want that guy like replaced. So I'm sorry, but you have a McTominay and a Fred who aren't natural sixes, never will be, never can be, in my opinion. And if they do want to develop into sixes, their career is going to be finished by the time they do that anyway. The way the game is played nowadays, it's too fast. It's too more. It's one of the most precise positions on the pitch now in the modern day. So, with the greatest of respect, when you look at Dennis Zakaria for 6 million euros, you go and take that for 6 months. Even if it's a case of the manager doesn't want him, at least you know that the manager's got a backup option when it comes to cup games. Because that DM, whatever, any one of those names you bring in is going to improve and be a massive improvement on Fred and McTominay playing in sixes, lone sixes or as a pivot, right? So, in my opinion, you go and spend that 6 million, and if the manager doesn't want him in the end, that's fine, no problem. But at least I know that come a cup game or something, or if it's, you know, worst outcome, for example, worst outcome meant that Phil Jones had to come and play a couple of minutes. Do you know what I mean? That DM would 100%, no doubt, come through and do a job for us better than McTominay and Fred, in my opinion. You need to bridge the gap for 6 months. 6 months, that's all we're asking. Even if he came on like a two-year deal. 2-year deal, and if the manager wants to continue on and accepts it, then you get another 2-year bumper on your contract. Something, man. You have to be smart enough to make these signings. You've got to go and do it. You can't be in a position where your midfielders that weak. You go and get rid of arguably one of your technically most gifted and most intelligent players on a loan to Everton. Fair enough, cool. He needed game time. He's not going to be played, but then you need to go and replace that player. Medjbury coming into the first. There you go. Medjbury isn't a DM, nowhere near. So he's coming to the first team. Cool, fair enough. You could say technically that's Van der Beek's replacement. So okay, let's knock that one on the head. Pogba's gonna go anyway. He wants to go. It's evident. It's evident. It's got nothing to do with money, and it's got everything to do with our lack of standards and lack of ambition and not making an effort. And this just sums up exactly why Pogba like that needs to go, and other players will be going as well. Because you can't just set yourself up for the next 6 months relying on Fred or McTominay as a 6. You can't do it. And that'll just show everything to Pogba thinking, flipping hell, I've got to play with Matic, who's got one leg. Like, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen, man. So yeah, overall, man, I think it's a wasted transfer. And to be honest, mate, I'm literally on the tip with this club now.
Yeah, no, I think you've spoken nothing but facts, to be quite honest with you. Like, in terms of the Zakaria sign, obviously Brusha said here, Zakaria was a no-brainer, nothing to lose, would have made a profit on him as well if you saw him. So shout out to you, obviously keep getting your comments in, obviously keep slapping the like and subscribing, etc. Look, for me, I understand from the perspective of that You know, we've got interim manager. You know, he's not going to be here. The new manager might not want him. But as Alice said, these players are less than Dan James. Low risk, potential high reward. I mean, I believe Zachary went for like 6 million euros, not even pounds. Like you're literally looking at 4 million. That is it, and that is Martial's wage bill, for example. Obviously, his wage bill is far superior than that. But as an example, you've already removed that income anyways by loaning out all these players on, you know, to other teams. So that money's basically going in their pocket. So we've loaned that Martial. Obviously, Van der Beek's gone, so his wages off the books for the next 6 months. Diallo's gone. That's more than 5 million's worth of wages within 6 months. So for me, it very much suggests that the board or whoever's sanctioning the deals quite clearly couldn't give two shits about how we end the season. At the end of the day, if we don't get Champions League, let's just say, God forbid, but let's just say someone gets injured, Fred, you know, I know they're not our biggest, you know, we don't personally rate them that highly, but if they are to get injured, it's just a matter of having a body there. Like, we don't even have someone to bring in, and then you're bringing in a Medri. He's a young lad. He's not even burst into the first team, and you're putting a high amount of pressure on him, and the expectations are going to be overwhelming as well. So for me personally, we missed the trick, really. Like 5 million for Manchester United, and we couldn't do it. But just quickly before we do obviously move on, of course we will touch on Lingard, but FK, I've got to ask you, man, like, is this the worst window that we've ever had? Because for me personally, I genuinely can't think of one worse, because we needed a DM about 2 seasons ago, and we're still sat in January with a DM available for 5 million euros, and we've still not taken that opportunity to bring someone in. So what are your thoughts on the window, and obviously your thoughts on Ralph? Has he been hung out to dry to an extent? Because, I mean, they've not backed him at all, really.
With Ralph, most certainly 100%, he's been hung out to dry. As for the transfer window, for me, it's got to that point where, you know, before this, I was actually saying, you know, to friends and, you know, family, you know, like fellow United fans, that we've got options is like something out of a super team. Yeah. This is before this transfer window. I was like, look, on the left we've got your likes of Ilanga, we've got Rashford, then on the right you've got Greenwood, you've got Sancho, you can play Diallo there. In the middle you've got Ronaldo, you've got Cavani, could even play Martial there. You could play Martial on the left, could play him on the right even, you know, worst to worst. At the end of the window, obviously, the one guy in question, who I'm not going to mention because I'm sick to death and I'm disgusted with what's happened, so put that aside. Martial, you know what? At this moment in time, I regret us giving Martial away, because, you know, till the end of the season, he would have done a job, most definitely, and he proved it in that game just before he left. Aside from that, Diallo's gone, okay, I was happy for him to go, but this was before all this happened. Now I'm thinking, if Ilanga could get into the team, why could Diallo not? In terms of Jesse Lingard, the guy disrespected the club blatantly. Okay, fair dues, he's been there since he was the age of 7 or whatever it was. I had love for him. I'll always have love for him. But what I've seen from Jesse over the last week or two, he knows how bad the Glazers are. But the thing is, you know, you're making fans that loved you become your enemy, because you're putting out cryptic posts and this, that. Even on that Sunday morning when everyone was just horrified by what's happened, this twat is putting out a post, like a sort of meme post, and you're thinking, come on, man, read the room, innit? Why are you putting that out now for? Aside from that, shambolic. Like you said, Zakaria, 6 million. I heard we got offered Kamara 10 million. Are you having a laugh? Like, it would have improved our team, man. Everyone's seen how, okay, McTominay, fair dues, 1 game, 2 games, you can play him as a DM. Same with Fred. But over a consistent period, they're not going to do what Matic has done. And like Sunshine 47 said, he was like, look, you know, before you had 5 years ago, you know, Matic 5 years ago, I would have been like, you know what, perfect. But just like he's been saying it, I've been saying the same thing, man, over the last couple of years. He's just not got the legs, man. He can play 1 game a week, but what about the rest of the games? There should have been a change made there. And instead, from making our team stronger in this January transfer window, making it a lot weak, but most certainly it's been a horrific transfer window. And yeah, like you said, it's been one of our worst. And like I mentioned earlier, Ralph must be thinking, where have I come to? What am I in? You've got to give credit to him, man. Look at what he's had to deal with. And he's only been here, what, 7 weeks now? 8 weeks?
Yeah, he's having to use every ounce of his experience. No doubt having to deal with this ball and obviously the current situations with obviously a couple of individual players as well. But Alice, in terms of Ralph and the Jesse Lingard situation, obviously we kind of alluded to Ralph potentially being back or not be back. He made it very clear at the start of this window that Jesse Lingard is welcome to leave. Of course, we know certain things have happened in recent days, which has potentially changed his hands. Do you feel like that is something that might potentially upset the dressing room? Because as FK just said, Lingard has been putting on these cryptic posts. He's quite clearly flirting with West Ham and Newcastle, mainly West Ham in particular. And now we've got a player that clearly doesn't want to be here. The manager said, let go of him. But he's been forced to stay against his own will. Like, do you think that potentially could be an issue for Man United moving on to the rest of the season?
Yeah, the first thing I think of is Ralph Rangnick gave him his blessing to go at the beginning of the window and at the end of the window, and he didn't go, which again shows that the board, the owners have not changed. Ralph Rangnick's coming in, we're giving Ralph Rangnick this consultancy role. Woodward's going, it's still going to be run by the board. They might say we're giving people these roles, and I just think, if you brought Ralph Rangnick in and he's going to have a role in a consulting role when it's done, surely you'd listen to him about players that can go and leave. They've had some power in that. I think they were only going to sell Jesse Lingard if they were going to get decent Saudi money for it. Let's be real. I think they were going to see if they could milk the Saudi cash cow. But I just think maybe the situation that happened right at the end of the window has potentially influenced it. Maybe he was looking for a deadline day deal and they're like, shit, well, there's no Ahmad. There's no Martial. We probably need them right now. Maybe they're like, we've got rid of so many players, we need to keep him. But I just think we should have let him go, because my thing is that I'm actually a big Martial fan and I like Martial, and I thought his little 10-minute cameo versus West Ham, I just think that he kind of links the attack together, and I think the attack have been playing as individuals. And I know Martial's been poor and I understand why he hasn't played much lately. But I was like, if Martial wants to go, you have to let him on loan. My way is, we've got a really, really good squad, but we're massively underperforming. And a lot of that isn't just to do with the coaching. A lot of it's to do with player attitudes. And I think when you've got people that don't want to be there in the dressing room, influencing the dressing room, it makes you worse. And I think any player that doesn't want to be here, you just get rid of them, because it's not worth them affecting the dressing room. And the Lingard doesn't want to be here. I'm sure if we were going to play Lingard, we guaranteed in game time, of course he'd love to be here. But you don't want to be here. Ralph Rangnick told him he can go, and he stayed. And I just think it's silly from the Glazers. Yeah, we might need him, but he doesn't want to be here. We gave him his blessing to go. I just think it's bad to keep players against their will, to be fair. And it's just the whole situation. It just gets on my nerves, really. I hate the owners.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the universe. I think we could do a full podcast on just slaying the Glazers, to be honest, because they're always the core issue with everything that is going wrong. Obviously, he's talking about keeping players against their will. Henderson was another player that we basically held hostage again. I mean, he's not playing, and I believe Watford and Newcastle both want to remove. You said no to that, which begs the question: what the hell is actually going on? But in terms of the Lingard situation and Najee, I want to chuck Van der Beek in as well, because I know massive fan of Van der Beek. What the hell has happened with both them players? You got a player with Jesse Lingard quite evidently flirting with West Ham for almost a year, and then on the flip side, Van der Beek was basically asked by Everton to go on loan in summer. We then reject him, promise him to play, and for 6 months he's played about 7 minutes, and then eventually in January we let him then go on loan to the exact same team that wanted him 6 months prior. I mean, what is going on with the club in terms of management? We mismanaged Henderson, obviously the Lingard situation at the moment, and Donny van der Beek, which is a myth to all of us. Like, what are your thoughts on the entire operation? Because it's not one player. There's about 7 cases that you can put forward. Like, well, what have you made of it in terms of Lingard and Van der Beek in particular?
Where do we start, man? That's the first thing. I mean, you can start back in a nutshell. And if we had a 3-hour stream, I'd probably be able to nip it in the bud, but whilst leaving out a couple of factors as well. But look, we brought in a great player, in my opinion. A player that I thought signified change, because I knew the type of player he was, the player profile. I'm thinking, if you're bringing in this guy and you're getting him for that much money, your identity is going to be switched up to a decent level of football. Like, I'm thinking, this man's coming in. Are you sure you want Donny van der Beek? Are you sure? Because if it is, then to me, I was ready to get gassed. I was like, we're going to play a certain style of football where we do keep possession. The ball's going to start moving. I'm going to be so happy, like, to see this man play. He's going to make things tick. Like, you know how, like, Michael Carrick and Paul Scholes affected the game. They didn't get the assists or many goals, but like they just controlled the game, man. Defense. I was thinking, yeah, this is where we're going. And fast forward a couple of times during the time, everyone was having honest questions to say, why is he not playing? Why is he not starting? Is he just not good enough? Is it, fan favorites? All of these things are coming out under Ollie. And then it comes out the fact that, he clearly is good enough. And we all know, we've seen the cameos when he's had chances, but when he did have chances, mainly, I mean, in the pre-season, Ollie's last pre-season, he played the most minutes. And he's ideally the best player. So he's running into a game, coming into the season where he's the most fittest, or match fittest. And, he didn't get the chances. And there's no reason, in my opinion, based on what I've seen of him at Ajax, since we're in 2022 now, so it'll be 6 years. Almost 6 years I've been watching this guy, minus the 2 years that he's been here. So 4 years I've been watching him solid, and I'm just thinking, we've got no sixes. He started his career as a 6. Like, we've got no ball retention. Defensively, he is sound. All of the arguments against Van der Beek, and me, Osman, like, I'll listen to anyone's theory and anyone's, point to see if I can learn something. But there is no logical reason for him to not be playing based on performances alone, based on the type of player he is. Zero. When you look at what Ollie needed in midfield, he had every single thing. And the only thing people were saying is that, is he good defensively? Well, I'm sorry. That means you just don't know about the player. 100% you do not know about the player. How can you even ask that question? But anyhow, we move forward. You've got a player that's necessarily needed. He needs minutes, etc. He wants to go. I do not blame him. You should let him go. Don't tell the brother, now he's going to get minutes. And then you bring him on for 2-3 minutes when you're losing. Like he's some waste, man. Like, you gotta be born stupid to treat a player like that. But this is where I come onto the board, because we look at how Ed Woodward treated Vidic and Rio Ferdinand when they left. Just see you later, mate. That's it. Nothing. No respect, no character, no morals, no values. And it's exactly the same. That's literally the same mindset that's come all the way from the top straight down to the bottom into unfortunate scenes and news that we've come to hearing now. No boundaries, no morals, no values, overinflated egos, just talent alone's good enough. Put
on a pedestal, innit?
And literally, that is the mindset that has gone from top to bottom. And I've got no inkling to think any other than that is literally how Van der Beek's been treated, with no morals, no class, no nothing. It's filtered from the top straight down to the bottom. So I look at Van der Beek going to Everton. I was praying it was a loan and no buy option.
Yeah, same.
And because I can't. I've never in my life, and I'm not doing this out of sympathy, bro, but never in my life have I felt within my chest and my heart, man, that this player, right, hand on heart, I will put my mortgage, my house, everything on the line, yeah, for this guy to play for our club. And I've got no stress that he would literally shut so many fans up who do not know ball. He would shut every single one of them up.
I'm there with you, bro.
He's an absolute baller. And if you like football and you like intricacies, yeah, and you actually like the beautiful game of football, not stats. You love the beautiful game of football, right? I'm telling you now, that man in any top team, easy win. The same way Gundogan comes in and replaces KDB is the same ilk of Van der Beek, in my opinion. Comes in, controls games. Everton have got a great player on the hand. With Dele Alli going there, I think that's great for them as well. I would have liked to seen him go to Crystal Palace, I'll be honest, because I think their structure's better. He'd be more of a senior, experienced figure, and the way they play football is perfect. And I think he needs to be around ballers who are on his wavelength. And at United, he's not got that. The only way he's going to work is if at United, if he plays as an 8 role on the right side and he has a Sancho there, because their IQ, their link-up play is perfect. Anywhere else, it's going to be a struggle because the team is so unbalanced, man. But moving on to Lingard, just to finish up quickly before you get your brothers in. Look, Lingard, as FK said, you know, disrespected the club in the ways, and I think it was a moment of madness. I think he's been driven to that point, emotionally, mentally, where he couldn't take no more. And sometimes when you drive good people to a limit, loyal people to a limit, as a human, they're going to retaliate one way or another, and then everyone else going to play the victim card. No one likes to talk about how you made the person get to that stage. You know what I mean? We like to take the piss and, excuse the French, sorry, you like to take the mick out of everyone, and you know, you like to disrespect it, you know, and whatnot, until that person then turns around and has enough, and then they throw it back in your face. You're like, what? You might be a good guy in that. So look, I empathise with where he's got. I don't agree with what he's done, but I 100% empathise with how he's feeling for him to do that, because someone of Lingard's ilk who loves this club, he knows deep down that, you know, it's not where it needs to be. Maybe that's frustration, but look, he should have gone a long time ago. We should have got 25 million for him after he had his great loan season at West Ham. We should have got that money. Wasn't utilised, and again, because we've got idiots in charge, you just don't know when they're just power hungry, money hungry. I mean, apparently relegation fees 50 million on Lingard. Are you taking a mick? Who told him that? Crazy.
Listen,
crazy.
The board for me are absolutely clueless. I mean, that goes without saying. But obviously, you spoke a lot about the treatment of the players, and that's something that gets massively overlooked within the fan base. And for me personally, I think Van der Beek and Lingard's situation, although they're different, they both really highlight the issues at Manchester United in a different way. Obviously, Lingard's situation, you know, as we mentioned, Randy gave his blessings for the player to leave, and then that comes back on the board, the lack of foresight, the lack of planning. I mean, if you're planning to get rid of Martial, Ahmad, Lingard, you know, regardless of what's happened to the other individual being suspended, you still have to bring somebody in, because you can't get rid of three players, whether they're playing week in, week out or not. It just completely deteriorates the strength and depth. And now we're in a situation on Friday where we're having to play our first team because we literally haven't got another option, which for me is a massive mistake. But just to answer this question, just to bring this question, because it leads on nicely to Ed Woodward, and obviously the legacy. I mean, I need to make sure I do quotation, because when I use the word legacy and Ed Woodward in the same sentence, just understand that I do not mean he's had a legacy, if you can call it that. But yeah, so obviously, Kwesi saying the past failures of this board have really caused distrust within the fan base. Is that the reason why fans are finding hot? I mean, the quick answer is basically yes. But FK, I'm going to pass it to you. Ed Woodward's legacy, if you can call it that. What is Ed Woodward's legacy at Manchester United? Of course, I don't know if he stepped down or what it is, but he's no longer the main man at Man United, from what I'm aware of, anyways.
Remember that quote of his that, I'm not gonna lie, I think I speak for every United fan. It lives rent free in all of our heads. I'm sure you all know it. He says, we can do things in the transfer window that only we can do because we're massive. And then what have we gone and done? We've signed absolute tosspots. Literally, it's like we've signed tins and pots over the last, 9 years, 10 years, however long he's been here. There's so many times that I could just go and think, you shouldn't have signed this person, you shouldn't have signed that person. But you know what? You've done it. And you know what? The signings that we've made over the last couple of years, credit any of these teams, anything bad about these teams, but these signings that you'd see the likes of Southampton make, or your Aston Villas in the past, or something that Tottenham would have accepted. Not United, when you're top of the food chain and have been there for so long, drop from there down here, the standard, my God. I am so glad that he's actually out of here. But you know what? This board is so bad. Don't trust that he's completely gone. I know that he's left the role and what have you, but some part of me tells me that he's still going to be lurking around in the background. I hate even seeing his smug face. Do you know what I mean? I despise and I'm disparaged with these parasites to a different extent. Like now, it's just got to that level for everyone. Because Now, you know what, they'll spin it, or Richard Arnold, this, you know, you've seen over the last 2 weeks, what has Richard Arnold been saying, or what's come out in the media? Oh, he's contacted Gary Neville, he's contacted Rio Ferdinand, you know, they're getting pundits on side, so the pundits don't talk shite about them. What does that tell you? To be honest, you know what, even this summer, you know, like, a few number of people were sort of fooled because we signed Ronaldo, Sancho, and Varane. Oh yeah,
Did
the
you say
form's done
some?
there, bit.
Did you say some,
I
bro?
would say about 95%. I would say
Jesus,
95%.
fire.
Well, yeah, you know what, 95%. You're right. But you know
Bro,
what,
have you
like,
seen that? Have you seen that meme where the fox is sitting on a stool like this? Yeah. Have you seen it? That was me, bro.
that?
Swear to God, that was me on my ones, bro. Thinking, oh my God, everyone's left me. Everyone's gone buy United shirts. I'm like,
God.
yeah, Glazers out in
I
it.
mean, it's a bit awkward because I've got one on with Ronaldo's name on the back, but
No, my
it's just
God.
disgusting.
You know what? I'll be honest. You know what? I don't care if we're on air, but you know what? There was literally a guy local making them. You know, getting the replicas or whatever. I paid 20 quid for it, and it's still
Yeah.
exactly the same as yours,
Oh, this
Osman. Yeah,
isn't. This isn't.
paid
This is
20
a
quid for it
replica.
with Ronaldo 7. Yeah. So you know what? Let him go spin on it.
I mean,
So,
I could not put it better myself. But Alice, I'm going to let you speak because I know you need to go very shortly. What are your thoughts on Woodward and his legacy that he's left at Manchester United? What do you reckon?
Ed Woodward finally gone. I mean, that is probably the only positive so far in 2022 surrounding United. Do I believe we'll get much better? No, because we still got the same owners. Do I believe there will be a change? Possibly, yeah. I think Mercer and Arnold, surely they can't be as crap as Woodward. When I think of Woodward, I think of 150 million spent on Harry Maguire, Wan-Bissaka and Daniel James. When I think of Woodward, I think of getting Odion Igalo instead of Erling Haaland. When I think of Woodward, I think
my
of,
God.
you know, every single season since Sir Alex Ferguson's left, Man City's finished above us. We've let Liverpool have won the league for the first time in years. That's what I think of Woodward. I think absolute miserable failure, and I'm glad he's gone. But what really needs to go is people worse than Woodward, those owners. That's what I have to say about it.
Alice, remember when we were going to sign Dybala, and then
Yeah.
2 days later we were close to signing Mandzukic.
That's
I
our
mean,
club.
I was going from doing this to thinking, oh fuck, we're signing an older.
I mean, Alice, you've kind of summed it up perfectly. But I think just to add to what you said is everything Woodward has done has always, in the back of his head, has always been, but what can I do in terms of monetizing this? You know,
Yeah.
Ronaldo, Cavani, whoever it may be, go through the signings, and it's always been about monetization. Oh, we've got the most expensive centre back, we've got XYZ. I don't really feel he's ever had a clear plan and a clear structure in actually taking the club forward and actually acting like owner. I don't know if you saw that clip of the Aston Villa chairman speaking to Sky Sports about Steven Gerrard and how he sat down with Gerrard and talked about how we can improve Aston Villa together as a team, and it's integral that we back Gerrard in the January window, which of course have done with Digne and Coutinho. I can't ever imagine Man United doing that with Woodward. The only thing I could even imagine him saying, how many shirt sales is XYZ going to get? How many shirt sales is this player going to get? Or can we get a sponsorship with Ronaldo coming in? There's been so many issues with Woodward, and I think you hit the nail on the head when you said Woodward's legacy is him being in charge of, firstly, being in charge of Man United when Liverpool won the league, and secondly, the fact that he's gone through so many managers as he's been in charge, and they've all failed basically to an extent. You could make a case someone would have done all right, but all in all, they've all been unsuccessful really, and that's been under his tenure. And for me personally, I can't wait to see the back of him. You said that you can't see that Arnold will do worse. What I'll say is don't get your hopes up, because these mans always find a way. These mans always find a way of shafting us even further. But moving away from Woodward, before we go into season expectations and all the rest of it, I just want to get a bit of positive news out of it, because it's all been doom and gloom so far. Paul, Pogba and Jadon Sancho are back in first team training. Of course, Pogba was back prior. Sancho was away with bereavements, obviously, thoughts and prayers with him and his auntie, of course. May she rest in peace. But both players are back for selection from what I'm aware of. for the Middlesbrough game. FK, in fact, Alice, we'll stay with you actually. So I know you need to shoot very shortly. Just before, what are your thoughts of them two players coming back? How important are either of them for us in terms of the rest of the season?
Oh, which two players again? Sorry.
Pogba and Sancho.
Oh yeah, I mean, well, I think with Sancho, I think he's gonna start maybe getting his form back. We're actually gonna be playing him on the right wing now. Maybe, we haven't played. We brought a right winger, barely played him on the right wing. But I think Pogba's going to be important as well because not only do we lack a bit of creativity in the midfield, but Pogba can also play on the wing, and we're a little bit thin for wingers. And I think I'm so glad Paul Pogba's back. Like honestly. Like so glad. Like, I know Paul Pogba wants to leave. I know he's been inconsistent. I know a lot of fans don't like him, but we cannot live this season with Fred and Matic for every game. It's just not fun. Like occasionally, Tomalai puts in a 10 out of 10 performance, and it's okay. But we just need that creativity of Paul Pogba, I think, just to help us out.
Yeah, absolutely. Najee, what are your thoughts of them two players being back? Obviously, with everything that's going on at the club as well in terms of lack of bodies. Do you think both of them will have an impact in terms of the rest of the season, so to speak?
I think our season will rest again on Paul Pogba's performances. And I feel like he's going to have an absolute blinder. And we're going to get the same racist, the same fickle, the same illogical, unintelligent, uneducated fans singing his name, Pogba, 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 because he scored a couple of goals or he's done an assist or had a great game. Or managed to, when no one else steps up, who steps up? Pogba, 24/7. And when that happens, then it's going to be like, see, he should stay because we love him when he's like this. He just needs to continue to keep this form up. I'm thinking it's ridiculous because these people, they don't understand Paul Pogba, the player. They're expecting this goal merchant and this assist merchant. That's what they're expecting. Forgetting that he had his best numbers of that ilk, GA, in United's colours. That is not Paul Pogba. That's not what he does. He's not that player. He's a luxury player, and he's a player that we will never, ever, ever, ever understand or even appreciate until he's gone. He's a player that thrives off a system. He thrives off everything around him working, so he can have that luxury role and do his job. We don't have that. So now we're expecting him to do everyone else's job, and that's never, ever, ever been his game. Ever. Even at Juventus, never been his game. So, I think for the player's sake, I want him to leave. I want him to go do well. I feel like from a club standpoint, he's got a couple of trophies. He can hold his head up high more than any other United, player other than De Gea at this stage in recent years. And he's been pivotal to us winning those ones, whether we like it or not. So from a player's perspective, I want him to go out and I want him to go and enjoy himself. I think if you're an appreciator of football in general, regardless of your bias, and you put football first, we're not going to see many players like Paul Pogba again. 6'3", moves like he's 5'5", incredible techers, left foot, right foot pass from any angle, just phenomenal. You won't find a player like that. There's none left. The last person I can remember of that ilk, and to some degree. I would look at Zinedine Zidane, although I feel like he was a little bit more smarter on the ball at times. I think that's just an area of Pogba's game that needs to improve. But again, I feel like we're splitting hairs there. For me, Pogba, go. Do you know what I mean? Man United don't deserve you. The fan base doesn't deserve you. Don't deserve your talents. Go and be amazing somewhere else, and I hope it works out for him. And I think this is going to be the start of the worst to come. When your best players start to leave. And you can no longer attract big players because let's be honest, if you look at the players that are in their prime now, they're pretty much our age now, or my age definitely, and I'm 29 now, yeah? They've grown up like me knowing what Man United stood for, and they're also living in present day knowing how it's moving. Players chat. So the next generation, you look at your Sancho's age and stuff like that, that's the age group that are kind of looking at Man United as a history club now. They're not looking at it as a current club that's still dominating, doing its thing. So where's the attraction going to come from? We are not big Man United no more. And I know that hurts some people's egos. I know that upsets some people. But Zlatan said it himself perfectly. He said on the outside, you look like a massive club. On the inside, they do not work like one, won't move like one. So, yeah, without going off topic, I'm glad Pogba's back. I hope that his talents come through. And I feel like they will. I feel like he'll be the difference to getting us top four. If he stays fit. The only the logical football reason I can say about Pogba for him not to stay is that I do believe he's injury prone. I think we can give him that title now.
He is.
And I think that's the only logical reason to get rid of him. And I think that's a fair one as well, considering his age. He's got one more big paycheck move left, and I think it's going to be right for all parties if he departs. But again, massive shame.
Yeah, no. In terms of the Pogba thing, like for me personally, I've said on numerous occasions that when watching Man United this season, since his injury, so to speak, we have missed him desperately. Like you see McFred, with Ralph in particular, he wants to play this more controlled style of play. And if you're trying to play that possession-based football, you need someone who's got the capabilities of picking a pass from deep. Of course, Bruno Fernandes, he's got his critics, etc., but he's still got the ability to pick a pass in the final third, so to speak. But Pogba from deep, we have not. His replacement's been Fred. I know Fred's got 3 assists in 3 games, and people will tell me that he's had a couple of decent games of late, although he hasn't. It's just night and day, isn't it? Pogba from deep, one of the best passers in world football, let alone Manchester United. It goes without saying. I think Pogba coming back into the team is definitely a positive. FK, I want to ask you as well. Pogba as well, obviously, if you want to mention him, but Jadon Sancho, a lot of people in the chat are talking about Sancho, basically referring to Sancho as a bit of a ghost, really, to an extent. This season, some people saying he's flopped, some people have got different opinions. What are your opinions on Sancho at the moment? Obviously, we're coming to the back end of the season. We've lost another individual that is no longer at the club. Is it now time for Sancho to really stand up and be counted?
With Sancho, he's a baller, man. You know what? Like Dortmund, I'm sure we've all seen. He always has like a sort of slow start to the season. Bear in mind, he's not really played in England, so he's just sort of come back to England, to start playing for United. So it's his first season, but I think the second half of the season, it's going to be a strong showing from him. And predominantly, obviously, he was playing on the right wing for them. Don't get me wrong, he played on the left wing, but for United, not really got the opportunity to play on the right wing. And the 2 times that he did, one time he did all right, and the other time we got someone sent off, so he had to be taken off in the Champions League tie against, I think it was Young Boys. So other than that, he had the bereavement. With any player, you do need a run of fixtures, a run of games in the team for you to, gel properly, get your positional awareness, get into your position properly. And, in some games, he's had to play with Wan-Bissaka behind him, some games with Luke Shaw behind him. I don't think I've really seen him play much with Dalot behind him or even got the opportunity to play with Dalot yet. So that's something I'm really looking forward to. But I have no problems or no questions in regards to the quality Jadon possesses. And I think, what's happened over the weekend, for Jadon himself, to an extent, it's a blessing in disguise, simply because he'll get his opportunity in his favoured position, to sort of create for Cristiano. And this is what Cristiano's been crying out for. He's not had no production, nothing from that right wing. So now to get that, you know what? Rashford can be Rashford on the left. So can Elanga, who plays, like, to an extent, a more defensive role when he's playing on the left compared to Marcus. But it's still a plus. The front 3 for me, the main front 3 I'd have would be Rashford, Ronaldo, and Sancho. So Sancho, I'm massive on, and I think he'll come good. And in regards to Pogba, dare I say more from what I've heard, Najee just hit the nail on its head. Everything he said, he took the words right out of my mouth. He's completely right in the sense where Pogba, we're going to regret when we lose him. And 100% over the seasons we've seen, he has got that sort of tag of being injury prone. Now, I don't know the limitations or to the extent of why that is, but obviously, it's football, these things can happen. And he's another player that's just been totally misunderstood. And to be honest, over the last week, we've seen he put a post out which had nothing to do with football. It was his, personal religion. And he's put a normal post out and he got called out for it by this fan base once again. So, it doesn't surprise me when people, from rival clubs call out our fans and call them fickle. even we call them out ourselves because these you know what, they're humans at the end of the day. They've got their own lives to live. And we've seen that massively over the last couple of weeks now. But it's just, I think, you know what, it's at the end of the line for him. Najee's right, he'll have a blinder because he's putting himself also in the shopping window. And I hope he has a blinder for United's sake. As long as he can get us top four and we finish in, the Champions League places, I'll take it. Do you know what I mean? So let's just see what happens in regards to that.
Yeah, no, in terms of the Pogba thing, he's definitely leaving. I mean, there's nothing in my mind that suggests otherwise. I feel like it's the right thing for both parties. At the end of the day, I completely forgot about the post that he did recently, which is crazy given that I'm Muslim. It's just happened so many times. It's just gotten to the point now that it's just ridiculous. At the end of the day, I know Alice posted something on TikTok which I thought was phenomenal. Like, why does it matter what someone does in their own time? It's completely irrelevant to what they're doing on the pitch. And if Pogba delivers on the pitch, I couldn't care less if he's dancing at his brother's wedding in his own time. Even if he's not delivering, that doesn't mean I can judge him for what he's doing in his own time. It's just ridiculous. I mean, that's basically the nature of the beast that is Manchester United. If you're flying high and you're scoring goals and you're assisting, you're playing well, you're everyone's best mate. But if you're going through a rough patch like Rashford was, everyone will throw you under the bus happily, and that's just the nature of Man United. Fickle fans flip-flopping from week to week. If Rashford now bags a hat-trick, everyone's going to be deleting their tweets about we should sell him. So, I mean, that's just what it is. Regarding Sancho, for me, I think the most important thing, before we go into the last topic, the most important thing is going to be Delo for Sancho, to be honest. You know, I've said this on numerous occasions. Guerrero, Hakimi, very integral to Sancho in terms of what they do off the ball. You know, not only do they provide an overlap, they provide underlaps. In general, their nature is to attack and go forward at will. But also they provide him an opportunity to have an extra option, someone that he can pop the ball off, link up with, and Delo, by nature, likes to get into the final third and actually try to create. I think both of them would be a blessing for us on the right wing. Finally, we've actually got a good partnership on the right wing, two attacking-minded options, and I'm intrigued to see how they blossom together. So for me, Sancho is going to flourish next part of the season. I'm looking forward to seeing that. But yeah, the last topic is, of course, the title of the video, Pochettino to Manchester United. Obviously, if you haven't heard, I say obviously like everyone knows, but if you haven't heard, PSG have come out and said Pochettino will not be the manager come end of the season. As we know full well, the Glazers have been chasing this man for a very long time. There was a lot of rumours midway through the season that Pochettino would actually take over Oli. Of course, that didn't happen. Now we have got a perfect opportunity to get him. I'm just going to pass it to you, Alice, again first, because I know you're short on time. Pochettino to Man United. Firstly, do you think there's any truth in that story? Or is it just the tabloids obviously putting two and two together, which is kind of what I've done, I'm not going to lie. And how would you feel about that?
Well, look, we all know United like Poch. There's probably some elements of truth in that story, but any manager stories that come out now, I'm not really giving much attention to because we're not realistically going to be. I think April's when you really start looking at maybe managers because we're not going to be getting anyone to at least May. I don't know how I feel about Poch, to be fair. I think there are better options out there, but he's definitely not the worst. It's hard because, realistically, I hate to say this, but I want Pep, I want Klopp. We ain't going to get them. Do you know what I mean? I don't think Poch is at that level, and I want a manager at that level. I quite like the look of Ten Hag, but there's not many managers available that actually stand out to me, and I'm like, I want that guy. Like, there's a couple good ones, but there's no one that I think's a Pep or a Klopp, or no one even near Sir Alex, and there probably never will be. But I think we'll probably go for Poch. I wouldn't be surprised, to be fair, and I'm not against it. I think I don't mind Poch, but I don't know. Like I think he'll play Donny. I think he's talked about Donny van der Beek a lot, and I just want Donny to smash it at Everton and the next manager play him. Like you don't understand how much I want Donny to succeed. Like it's crazy because of how bad he's been treated. But I'm a bit like meh on the manager situation right now. I'm just gonna wait and see what happens and sort of how I feel at the time, I think.
Yeah, that's understandable. Obviously, we know with the club that they changed their mind with the absolute win. I just want to quickly get a couple of comments in here. United would say, I'm not sure about Poch. Shout out to Rayan. Hopefully see you soon. And close, my brother. Thank you as always. Ten Hag would struggle with the current squad, which is a fantastic question. Just before we get to that, Alice, I know you need to go. So before you obviously move on, just let the people know where they can find you. And thank you as always for giving your time and coming through. I appreciate it.
First of all, thanks, Usman, for having me on the show again. Always a pleasure to come on Usman Talks United.
Thank
and if you are watching right now and you're not subscribed, give this guy subscribe because he uploads content so regularly and so consistently with pretty, fair views. Just type Alice Talks Football in TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube, and it should come up. But yeah, thanks again for having me on.
No, it's an absolute pleasure. As always, the social down below. Make sure you check out Alice. If you don't know what Alice is, then you must be hiding under a rock. I mean, she's going to be award-winning this year, so get ahead of the curve, people. She's definitely doing it. But Alice, thank you for coming through, and I'll speak to you very shortly. God bless.
Bye.
Yes. Okay, right. Just quickly get this comment up from the homie. Ten Hag will struggle with the current squad. Obviously, I know I've read it, but I just want to give that a bit more time. Najee, I'm going to pass it to you. Poch, Ten Hag. What are your thoughts, man? Because as soon as I said it, I just seen your face drop, to be honest. What do you reckon, bro?
I'm just sick about it. Just this link to serial losers, man. People like
Puppets.
in one breath, yeah, you've got this. They got the fan base going, like, and they know that just playing better football isn't gonna solve shit, man. It's not gonna solve shit. I always say any manager you bring in, you have to factor in the manager under this board, not just the manager. So when people were talking about Conte, yes, Conte, fine, cool, but Conte under these owners, no. It's not gonna work out. It's gonna go back. We're going back in loops, right? It's not gonna work out. So I look at Poch. I'm sorry. Call me blunt. Call me quite. To the call spade a spade as I normally do. But I can only be honest. I would never lie. I look at Poch. I think he's a serial loser. I think he plays great football. Amazing. But when you're going to PSG, and your name is Pochettino, and you're known for playing good football, and you have the talent to go with it, you have to be a good enough manager to manage egos and characters regardless of the club you are at. And you're still not winning every single season. You're booted out just the other night in a French Cup. I'm sorry, yeah? And yes, you may not...
Was that to Nice as well? It was to Nice, right?
I couldn't even remember, but I just remember thinking another loss. Bottle job. You look at him in the Champions League... Was it Champions League final at Tottenham?
Yeah.
Absolute blinder with Lucas Moura. Gets him all the way through to the final. Harry Kane's having stinker. You leave Lucas Moura out. These decisions here says everything about a mindset, man. He's not a winner. He's not a winner. He plays great football. He's not a Ross Clark winner. And I'm sick to death of literally us getting linked to, like, yes men. Look at easy men. Like, oh, yeah, I'm okay. I can do this, mate. Don't want to hear it.
Who would you want then? Because obviously there's a lot of people, obviously different comments.
In my opinion,
obviously Jerry said who would work under this board.
No one to work on this board, but this was my theory for Ten Hag, right? I know Ten Hag's done well at Ajax, but based on you look at, he's got Overmars, he's got Van der Sar, right? Director of football, and obviously the structure's bang on. Now, the structure I've said about Man United structure is not going to come from the top. It's not going to come from the top, regardless. Even if Ralph is there, I don't believe it's going to come from the top. But I guarantee you, 100%, Ten Hag, who had his 2019 team ripped apart. Right, yes, they had some great youth, but bear in mind, he's still got a Tadic that's playing left wing who is not a left winger, and he's absolutely balling for Ajax, even in the Champions League, which is a lot harder than his relevant club league. Right, absolute balling. Now, for me, if Ten Hag came into this setup, yes, the structure has to be built from the top to the bottom. But with his experience under Van der Sar, he'll know what he needs. With the experience under Overmars, he'll know what he needs. Now, when he's having these certain conversations with certain people above him, i.e. Darren Fletcher, who, again, has got nothing on his CV that allows him to be that guy, and with Ralph still being there, I believe between them, they could get at least 20%, 30% more structure from the bottom up and build it up that way, i.e. you look at player profiles, you look at the system, and even if the Glazers say, I'm sorry, mate, we can't get you that player, I know 100% factual. He'll go into that youth academy and goes, "Don't worry, mate. I'll take Garner as my DM. Don't worry about it. You keep making your money. I've got no stress about that, and I guarantee he makes a baller out of him because he's literally had to do that at Ajax.
Yeah,
the best players ended up dipping. He's had to reset and go again. So I'm looking at the Glazers going, oh, so I don't have to go and get you a 30 million DM. Okay, that's good. So Glazers will shut up, the carry making the money. Ten Hag will work with what he's got. Now I'm not saying Poch didn't do well at Tottenham. He did very well at Tottenham under Levy, not getting what he wanted. But in my opinion, I've never seen Ten Hag's teams are consistently performing very, very well after that little rebuild, after 19. They're doing very, very well in the Champions League and playing very, very good, confident, structured football. Now, I do get player profile. The academy has allowed that because you can replace player profile like for like. But I look at this Man United team as a 4-3-3 and think there are a lot of young talent here that could easily come through. I've got no doubt that Mengi and Twanzebe, in my opinion, could be utilised as our next centre-back pairing going forward after Varane. I genuinely believe it could happen, in my opinion, under a manager of that nature. So for me, I look at Ten Hag and I'm like, you are the closest thing I could find for some structure to be built in the hope, not faith, in the hope that you are able to bring some experience to our director of football, to our consultancy, from what you've got from Ajax. Because unless we get some level of football structure in there, someone who knows what they're doing, whether it comes from top or bottom, then we are absolutely finished. And the last thing I'll finish on is I guarantee you, the moment Klopp and Pep end up leaving, on their managers list will not be a Pochettino. On their managers list will not be a Jose Mourinho or Conte. It will be a Ten Hag. Why? Because he's the next best thing coming up. And he'll be there for an easy 10 to 15 years. No stress. And then what happens? Man City or Liverpool, they stay there whilst we're still trying to catch up. You got to think smart now. We can't be having a lack of structure anywhere. We have to find a level to be able to build some structure from somewhere. And in my opinion, Ten Hag fits that bill. I believe he could do better with less than what Poch could do, especially if I believe Poch is a serial loser. And he's just not that guy. So that's where I'll leave it, man. Ten Hag for me, out of the managers we're listed to. But what I wanted personally, which is a long shot, was Mancini. And I know a couple of people on Twitter were talking about Luis Enrique, which, in my opinion, great managers as well.
Enrique was always my number one, but obviously he's not going to come because of Spain, rightfully so. But first things first, right? I'm honest to God, in my head, this is what I genuinely believe. I think we're going to get Poch, which I don't want, and I'll get into that very shortly. And I genuinely think Liverpool or City are going to get Ten Hag. Like, that's what I think. I think Ten Hag, and I know this could sound like a ridiculous statement, but he's the closest to Pep in terms of the new generation, in terms of what he will bring to a team. And that's what I see Ten Hag as. I see Ten Hag as a young, aspiring manager. I initially wanted Nagelsmann, but obviously he's gone to Bayern München. But again, that is irrelevant to this conversation. But for me, Ten Hag is one of the next big things. And Man United need to get ahead of the times. One thing Man United have done consistently under this ownership, I've gone for people that might be potentially past the sell-by date when it comes to managers and players. That's something we've done very consistently, man. And we need to break the pattern. The only time there's going to be a significant change at Man United is if we break the cycle. Stop going for people that are past their best. I mean, I'm not saying Poch is past their best, but for me, PSG was a perfect opportunity for this guy to go in and collect trophies. And I'm not talking about the league because the league for me is a given. I know people will say you still have to win. I'm sorry, respectfully, if you can't win the league with Messi, Neymar, Mbappe, Di Maria, Icardi as your front line in that division, come on, don't chat to me about coming to Man United and bringing Man United back to where we need to be. And he just got kicked out by Lille. As we mentioned, Champions League, bottled it. He got kicked out by Nice. In the previous competition, got kicked out by Lille as well. I mean, I seen a stat where there were 6 trophies available and he's bottled 4. It was PSG. I mean, it's not acceptable. It's not acceptable for me. And as you said, serial bottler, I've consistently said I think he's a good manager, but he's going to struggle at the big team because he hasn't got the capabilities of getting the team over the line. And also an issue of Poch, and it sounds like we're bashing him, but also an issue, I suppose Tuchel kind of had this as well at PSG, so maybe it's a PSG thing. But he seems to struggle with the Eagles. it's not going to be easy at PSG. Like I said, Tuchel struggled there. He still came to Chelsea and smashed it. But there's something about Poch for me that he doesn't strike me as someone that's got the capability of galvanizing these egos. I mean, Ronaldo, for example, is a bigger ego than anyone's got at PSG. And for me, he's never really had the backing of the players. I mean, I don't get that vibe. I might be completely wrong and I might be shooting in the dark, but I just don't get that vibe that Poch was ever accepted at PSG by the players or the fans, because he doesn't seem to have that authority. And maybe that is one of the reasons why he's not been as successful as he probably should have been. But coming back to Ten Hag, it's an absolute no-brainer, which is why we won't do it. Ten Hag is the answer. And I'm sorry, people will say, he's not doing the Premier League, he's not got experience, he's a young manager, he needs to bring in players. But that's the same with everybody. Everyone's going to be at risk. Pochettino did okay in the Premier League. Okay, he did good things. But managing Tottenham Hotspur and managing Manchester United is not the same beast. At Tottenham, he could go 2 games without winning, and people brush under the carpet, oh, it's a project, it's a rebuild, whatever you may call it. If you don't win 2 games in a row, Man United, or you win 1, you lose 1, people are on your neck. And I just don't think he's got the cojones to deal with that pressure. Not to say Ten Hag has, because obviously he smashed at Ajax as well. But for me, it's just better equipment. And I like what Ten Hag has brought to the table. I'm close. Donny van de Beek, Martial, Ten Hag keeps them both. Cavani, Ronaldo out. Martial, Donny in. That's 2 players that I don't want to say the cliche thing, they're like a new signing, but they would actually be like a new signing because they've not played. So FK, I'm going to pass it to you to finish the show. What are your thoughts on the Poch speculation? Are you happy about it? Do you even think there's any truth in there? Would you go for someone else? What have you made of all the commotion that's come out today?
In terms of Poch, it's just, it's like going around in circles, isn't it? It's like if we were to do that, it's as bad as the Van Gaal appointment, the Mourinho appointment, the Moyes appointment, and most certainly the Solskjaer appointment, because it's just another puppet that the Glazers would be able to control, and it's a yes man. And like you've said, how do you bottle trophies? It's just something that should be non-existent anyway. You know what I mean? Like you mentioned, the talent that team has right now, that is the super team. And if you're not winning there in a League One Uber Eats league, well, I don't know where you're gonna win. In terms of Ten Hag, if I could have my ideal choice, Ten Hag first, and then right behind him would be Luis Enrique. But Ten Hag is brilliant, but it's just I do not see my football club thinking that wise to go and make a decision like that and go and do the right thing, because yes, Ten Hag will be the next sort of Pep, and you can see it already in terms of the goals they've scored, the goals they've conceded, not just over this season, but over his entire time at Ajax. And they've picked up some big wins. Fair dues, they've picked up some losses as well, but that's part and parcel of football. But the style of play that he has, the demands that he puts on his team, the youth that he bloods up, it's just, there's a lot of pluses with Ten Hag, and I can understand why Najee's points in regards to Ten Hag was so vocal and so strong. And you know what? To 95% of what he said, I agree completely. Simply because, this is a step that should be taken for this football club to take that next step. Because every manager that's come in, they've got top 4. Well, Moyes, they all got top 4. We're not a top 4 club. We're not Arsenal. We're not Tottenham. We're Man United. Should be challenging for titles. And even the next guy to come in, you know what? I don't care. Every guy that's come in has said, oh, we need to rebuild. We need to do this. We need to do that. If you're a manager that thinks he's good enough, you know what? All these managers would think that every manager's got an ego. If you're a manager that thinks you're good enough to take this role and do this, go ahead. Okay, you need signings? Get a few players in the positions that you need, but then go and get on with it. I don't want to be hearing this, oh yeah, you know what? It's a rebuild, it's a cultural reset. We need a challenge for top 4 for a season or 2, and then, go again. Because look at Tuchel. Did Tuchel come in and say, "Oh yeah, we need a rebuild"?
Yeah,
No, he
that's a good
didn't.
point.
He come in, fair dues. They did have a strong team, but he never came in and said, "Oh yeah, we need this, we need that." He came in and he won the Champions League, and
Yeah, but
Chelsea,
FK,
their fans.
he did
Go
have
on.
Lampard's whole basically transfer window. Like Chelsea made mad signings,
They
and
did.
with
Yeah,
respect,
they spent
Lampard
like
They did.
250 million, didn't they?
Lampard's style of
Agreed.
football, formation wise, is pretty much the same. Only Ten Hag could manage it and coach it better. So I feel like he was set up to win that. But still, I get your point.
Yeah. But you know what? You still have to go and do it. Do you know what I mean? Before that, they only won one Champions League. I know he had
Yeah,
a
yeah,
super
you're
team
right.
there for it, but you still have to go and do it. Do you know what I mean? Like
He did his
that's like
job, didn't he?
looking
He
at
did do his
United
job.
saying Solskjaer. Yeah, that's like next season, for example. I pray that it does happen that we win the Champions League. But that's like someone saying next season, well, Solskjaer left Rangnick a decent team. Whereas if someone was to ask me and you that at the end of the season, even if we win the Champions League, the first thing we'd say would be, I don't give a fuck. But at the end of the day, we'd still think that same thing, wouldn't we? We'd be like, you know what? Why Rangnick had it down to the bare bones. Look at where we are. Now imagine we did still appreciate and call it out for what it is. You know what? He's still won them the Champions League, their second ever Champions League. Fair dues, he's not having the best of seasons now, but even look at it now. Their fans are so spoiled. They're still there. They're still third. They're still many points ahead of us. But they're still calling him up. They're still calling for his head. Do you know what I mean? And it doesn't help when you got man like Lukaku's coming out and calling you out as a manager, saying you've changed the system. That does not help. It's you know what? Just like we've had dramas about them too. This does not help any football club. Anywhere that happens, like look, Arsenal have got it with Aubameyang. You know, ever since the Aubameyang sort of saga started, where have they been? They've not won all month. They didn't win in January, I'm sure. Now
It's
it
got to
just
go.
goes to show the smallest inkling of drama causes so much so much aggro at any club. But obviously, let's see where we get. But yeah, for me, Ten Hag. Ten Hag's my first choice. Enrique my second. Third, I fancy seeing myself there, if I'm honest. I have to throw a crack or two at these bloody owners. I don't think anyone else would.
Oh my god! Listen, it looks like everyone is sold on Ten Hag. We've got 3 Ten Hag. I don't know. I can't remember what Alice said, but yeah, I mean, she kind of alluded to the fact that she's not really bothered as it currently stands. Please do let us know down below your thoughts, obviously, on the repeat show. Get your comments in. Ten Hag, Poch, or obviously if there's someone else that you want to throw in there, maybe Ralph Rangnick is the person you want to keep. I'm sure we didn't even mention that, but it is what it is. As always, make sure you drop a like, subscribe to the channel. If you have enjoyed the video, please do subscribe. We make content regularly. Before we go, as always, FK, we'll start with you first, bro. Let the people know where they can find you, my guy.
United Agenda on Twitter. Coming soon, but yeah, hit the follow and drop a subscribe to Usman Talks United. Brilliant guy, Najee. Good to get talking to you first time.
Yeah,
And
love, bro, man.
hopefully many more soon, bro.
Yes, I
100,
appreciate
man.
that. Definitely gotta make it more of a regular thing. And Najee, I already mentioned at the start, but in case people have just come in, let the people know where they can find you, obviously, and plug your channel, my guy.
Appreciate it, man. First and foremost, we've got FK, obviously, Alice, and obviously Usman. If you guys aren't even following or subscribing to Usman's channel, I don't know what you're doing. You need to do it right now, like this second. Like, it takes 2 seconds. Like, I'll pause for 2
Go
seconds
on,
while you do
people,
it.
it's free.
1, 2. Okay, there you go. You should have done it by now. So big up yourselves. Yeah, guys, I'll keep it nice and short and quick. Sunshine 47, SON, not SU, SONSHINE space 47 on YouTube, where I am creating a new. Well, I wouldn't even say new. We've got 2 shows by now, but we are doing an all-new game show for football fans to win yourself free prizes. It's simple as that. I wanted to bring some positive energy to the Man United fan base and football fan base to social. So if you want to go and win yourself some free prizes that I hand deliver myself and we'll send to you, then make sure you go get involved. It's Sunshine47, as I said, on YouTube and on Twitter. If you want to jump in some spaces, always healthy debates, respectful debates. If you want to have your say on any of the topics that are in the header. when we run them. By all means, come through again. Really appreciate that as well. So, yeah, man. And for the last time, subscribe to Osman's channel. Needs to
I
happen.
appreciate you, man. I appreciate it. Like I said, everyone's socials are down below. For whatever reason, if you didn't catch what either of the guys have said, make sure you check the description and go follow them up on the socials. And of course, make sure you subscribe to the homie Najee as well. Doing great work over there. Regarding myself, Usman Talks United on Twitter and TikTok. Yes, TikTok. I know I'm not dancing, don't worry. But we are.
Oh, man.
I know maybe in a few weeks if you actually win the competition, you never know that. Listen, I have done the party dance, but that's about in it. But yeah, make sure you check that out. Upload it there regularly as well. But apart from that, I'll be back tomorrow with a bit of a channel update. Obviously, all will be revealed then. Apart from that, it's been your boy Osman. Drop a like, subscribe to the channel.